All right. So secondly, he says the presuppositional conflict of worldviews. And so he says he'd like to talk about this presuppositional conflict of worldviews. He tells us that Dr. Stein has written about the nature of evidence in the theistic debate, and what he has said points to a second, he tells us, philosophical error of significant proportions. He tells us that he takes it that Dr. Stein wishes to judge hypotheses in the common sense way by the test of logical coherence and empirical observation. The problem arises when Dr. Stein elsewhere insists that every claim that someone makes must be treated as a hypothesis, which must be tested by such evidence before accepting it. And so he says there is to be nothing, and he's talking about Stein here, he says, which smacks of begging the question or circular reasoning. And he tells us that this, he thinks, is oversimplifying thinking and again misleading, and he wants to call this the pretended neutrality fallacy. All right, so what he's going to kind of explain what he's getting at here with regard to the presuppositional conflict of world views.
Right. And again, this neutrality item will come up again. He goes on to say here for his second point that one must eventually ask Dr. Stein then how he proves this statement itself. That is, how does he prove that logic or reason is the only way to prove factual statements? He is on the horns of a real epistemological dilemma. If he says that the statement is proven by logic and reason, well, then he's engaging in circular reasoning, and he's begging the question, which he staunchly forbids, right? You can't do it, according to Dr. Stein. So he can't do it that way. Okay, so can't do it that way. Let's give him the other option, the only other option. Well, if he says that the statement is proven in some other fashion, well, then he refutes the statement itself, that logic and reason is the only way to prove things. So whichever one he takes, it's incorrect, because he's either engaging in circular reasoning and begging the question, or he's undermining the entire statement that he's trying to prove in and of itself. Heads win, tails lose. Right.
That's right. Heads loose, tails loose.
Yeah.
And now notice what he says there. He says his point is not to fault Dr. Stein's commitment to logic and reason. That's
Right.
not what he's getting at. But to observe that it actually has the nature of a pre-commitment or a presupposition, right? It's not something that he's proven by empirical experience or logic, but it's rather that by which he proceeds to prove everything else. So notice he's suggesting that Stein has a presuppositional commitment, right? That's unproven, right? And it can't be proven by the way that he suggests all things should be proven. Otherwise, it's either circular or it's false, right? That's what he's getting at. And so he says it's not something that can be proven empirically or with logic, but it's rather that by which he proceeds to prove everything else. And so he is not and the point he's getting at here is that Stein is not presuppositionally neutral. He has presuppositions that he's basing his claims on. So he's not presuppositionally neutral in his approach to factual questions and disputes. He does not avoid, notice, begging crucial questions.